In the fourth and final part of our series on Leonard Lake and Charles Ng, we'll close out the stories of both Cricket and Ng. We'll discuss Ng's flight to Canada, the buffoonery that led to his arrest, his absurd tactics in delaying his court proceedings, and finally, his trial. We'll also learn some interesting facts about Ng's trial and talk about where he is today. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. I'm sure even the most depraved of you listeners are ready for the conclusion of this nightmare, so stick around. As I often say when I'm in a house of ill repute, putting on a Jimmy hat, let's wrap this up. This is Necronomipod.
Sheds where victims were allegedly held, and Harvey Dubb's video equipment. Police caught Ng and Lake in June of 1985 allegedly trying to steal from a South San Francisco store. Lake killed himself while in police custody by swallowing a cyanide pill. Ng fled and was captured in Canada. It took 6 years to get him returned to California to stand trial. In another 7 years of delays, Ng has gone through 3 judges, a change of venue, and 8 attorneys.
I mean, I feel cheated. I feel cheated that Leonard Lake immediately popped a cyanide pill and took the easy way out, and I feel cheated that Ng has run off to Canada, and, you know, like I say, I'm particularly annoyed, angry that he's managed to play the game for so long.
1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers.
Friend of the show, Stone Cold Steve Austin, letting us know where we're at in our count tonight.
Stopping by for some encouragement.
Yeah. Thanks for the pep talk, Steven. So I have a question for you guys. What is your all-time, or what, not all-time, what was your favorite cartoon show when you were a youngster? What did you watch?
Battle of the Planets.
Battle of the Planets. Is that still on anywhere now that people can check it out? No? You had that quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Little Dave sitting in front of the TV watching Battle of the Planets.
Eating some sugar smacks Saturday morning.
All right. Ian, what about you? What was yours?
Transformers.
Okay. Wow. Well, spoiler alert, I guess I'm the nerd of the group. Mine was Doug from Nickelodeon.
I mean, Doug's good. I'm not going to...
I loved Doug.
Yeah.
That was my shit when I was a kid.
What was the song? What were the 2 songs?
Well, his song was do do do.
Yeah, but like in the show, they had that band.
Banging on a trash can, drumming on a street light. That's the only one I remember.
Yeah.
There was another one though. I used to love Doug.
Doug's good.
I gotta look up. There's got to be some porn out there of Doug putting it to Patty Mayonnaise, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Giving Patty Mayonnaise the mayonnaise.
Or Skeeter banging Patty and cucking Doug.
I guarantee that exists too.
Wasn't Skeeter no, Skeeter was his friend.
Yeah.
Who was the bully?
Roger.
Roger. See, you know more about it than me.
Doug's just crying in the corner watching.
Jerking off, though. Dave's like, now I'm going to start watching Doug. If Doug was a cuckold comedy or a cartoon, maybe, you know, it might still have legs. Yeah, I was a big fan.
Rule 34.
That's it.
If it exists, there's a porn of it on the internet.
There's got to be somewhere. I'm sure of it.
I bet you could just do a quick Google and it would come up.
Well, I'm not going to do that right now. It's a family show. Do you have a favorite guilty pleasure TV show? Like something that's just ridiculous or silly or goofy that you just got into? For me, it's the Three Stooges. Big fan.
Are we talking back then or now?
Anytime. Do anytime. Guilty pleasure TV show.
I do have to admit, I watch both of those 911 shows, and they're ridiculous, but it's probably my favorite show. It's so good.
Yeah, they're a little cheesy from what I've seen.
They're not great.
Oh, and Ian likes.
I love them though.
Ian watches Maury, right? You love that.
Yeah,
shit.
I guess that would be my guilty pleasure. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Judge Brown, all that stuff.
Oh my!
So like the local channels between 2 and 4 o'clock every day is where you're at.
It's like it starts around noon, and then whenever
noon.
Whenever Dr. Phil comes on at like 4 or 5, that's when it's a wrap.
Yeah, you're like, I'm done with that shit.
Yeah.
It's too bad Jerry's not around. We can't go. I always want to go to a taping of the Springer show.
I feel like that'd be like going to like a wrestling show, right? Like you cheer and you boo and hiss. And
Give some girls their Jerry beads.
Yeah.
Hook it up, man.
I like on Maury when they have to like beep out swear words and stuff. Like, I want to be that dude. I want to get super fucked up and go to a Maury taping, just be yelling swear words the whole time.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff.
Steve Wilkos is on too.
He has his own show now, right? Yeah.
That's Jerry's bodyguard.
The best was when he would break up fights and then the crowd would just be like, Steve, 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 Steve.
That's what they chant when the show starts for him.
And is it the same kind of stuff?
His is like super dark shit. It's usually like pedophiles and stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, I don't want to go to that.
It's weird.
Yeah.
His isn't very fun.
Charles, we understand you cooked a baby. What do you have to say about that?
That's kind of what's going on in Steve's show.
Oh, see, usually I'm the transition guy. Let's look at him over here. So I guess with that teaser, Ian, where did we leave off?
Where we left off on part 3, Lake and Ing's run at being serial killers came to an end with Charles Ing stealing a $75 vice from a hardware store. When he saw Lake being talked to by the security, he just bailed on him. Lake was taken by the police for having Scott Stapley's gun with a silencer attached. And Clara Lynn Ballas, a.k.a. Cricket, took Ing to a bus station where he made his way to Canada. And Lake made good on all those threats of taking a cyanide pill and committed suicide before police even talked to him.
Thank God for dumb criminals, right?
Yeah.
These guys were flying under the radar. They weren't, under suspicion or anything. They could have went a lot longer.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about in a little while here the only eyewitness account from any of this. Like no one even thought anything with these two.
Well, it's a little absurd that they were under the radar given that Charles Ing couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut any time ever in his life.
Correct.
Right? He told anyone who would listen about what the fuck was going on, including what we're getting into today.
I think there's a fair amount of people that probably have a guilty conscience about not saying something about the shit Charles Ing talked about way sooner.
They should.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these people were already in prison, right? So maybe that was, you probably hear a lot of shit talking in prison and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's trying to sound hard. Or maybe you have an attitude of, well, fuck it. I'm already in here. Like, fuck the system. I'm not helping anybody.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later too, because talk about Charles Ing being the funny guy. He's the funny guy among murderers and things like those are all the people that hung out with him were not great people anyways.
If there was a sitcom of serial killers, he would be like the comic relief of the whole thing. Like he's the George Costanza of the show.
He does his kick and the laugh track goes off.
Spin kicks a pencil out of someone's hand.
I didn't even feel bad making light of any of this because he's really a piece of shit. But
so like we said on part 3, Cricket knew the police were going to close in on the cabin that her father owned that Lake and Ing were operating out of. So Cricket went to the cabin and took out what she says were consensual videos of her and Lake that would be embarrassing for her. It wasn't long after this, like pretty much the next day, police got in contact with Cricket because in the back of the car Lake and Ing were driving, they found an electric bill to the cabin with her name on it. Cricket immediately lawyered up and told police where Charles Ing was, like where he was headed.
That's the right thing to do, lawyer up, by the way. Regardless of the scenario we're discussing currently, it's always correct to lawyer up.
Through negotiation, Cricket's lawyer got her full immunity from the state of California, which was something they didn't really want to do, but they were kind of out of options. Lake was dead. Ing fled the country. And there wasn't any concrete evidence that Cricket was a part of any of the murders, but police were certain that she knew everything about it.
Sure seems like she was probably guilty of at least some sort of accessory charge here.
For sure. I think I said it on part 3 or 2, but the book Die For Me that I've used for this, there's a whole web of legal stuff that went to her getting immunity, So as I said, if anybody really wants to get into this case more, that book is very detailed.
It kind of resembles the Karla Homolka immunity plea where they were a little too early to pull the trigger on that. And, maybe found out later.
Yeah, if they would have waited probably about 3 weeks on it, Charles Ing got himself, we're going to see he gets himself in trouble. So they maybe not would have,
But I think their thought is what? Lake's already dead. This is our one last opportunity to get this guy at least. So let's just cut this deal and then go all in on him. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you could have waited, but.
Cricket was interviewed by Detective Larry Copeland with her lawyer present. Detective Copeland first asked Cricket about Operation Miranda, to which she said, quote, "I told him you can't just steal somebody and hold them like that. And I watched the movie. This man in the story kidnaps this woman and keeps her, and she eventually dies. So I told him you just can't do that. I understood his beliefs about storing away food and supplies, preparing for Armageddon, but I didn't go along with having a sex slave."
That's a bridge too far, apparently, for Cricket. Storing food, yeah, but I told him you probably shouldn't keep a girl here.
She drew a line in the sand and said, I will not cross that.
Okay, Cricket.
Cricket admitted that she helped finance the torture bunker. She said, quote, "I gave him several $100s. I told him I didn't like the idea and that I thought he just couldn't snatch somebody and keep them locked up." But she still gave him money for it. Copeland asked her, back in Philo, you were aware that Ing and Leonard both had a propensity and a fantasy to snatch women and have their way with them, that they poisoned cats up there with cyanide as an experiment. To which Cricket replied, "So that doesn't say I murdered anybody."
If she already had immunity at this point, why is she so concerned with protecting herself?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later too. She ends up being completely worthless. This interview, her courtroom testimony, she never lived up to anything that was in the immunity. I don't know why she kept it the whole time, but
Interesting.
she's not very helpful.
I mean, they can gut the immunity deal sometimes if you're not, it stipulates how cooperative you have to be. And if you don't supply that evidence.
That's why I'm surprised that in this case that they didn't just strip that and charge her with something. Copeland pushed more. "You're trying to lead us to believe that you don't know anything about all of this, yet you lay in bed and have conversations with Leonard. You talk about plans to build this bunker. You talk about little kids at your school." Cricket replied, "Yeah, so." This is basically what went on for the rest of the interview. The only excuse Cricket made, trying to say it was out of her hands, was, quote, "I remember thinking when he was wanting me to help him solicit people from shopping malls, this is getting out of control. And I thought that I could, by seeing him and still having sex, maybe I could keep him from doing that. But there was nothing I could do, basically."
You could call the police, you dirty, rotten bitch. How about that, Cricket? I am of the opinion that she is involved 100% in all of this.
Sure. Just because she didn't maybe actually commit any of the murders.
Yeah, and fully aware of everything.
She knew exactly what was going on.
I agree, Mike.
I mean, I was just piggybacking off what you said.
We're agreeing with each other.
Yeah.
Like we said at the end of part 3, this investigation and all of this was happening really quick. Police were not messing around. So when police went to the cabin and started searching, the first thing they found were tons of cyanide pills hidden all over the place, on the tops of door frames, just everywhere.
Is it easy to just buy cyanide pills?
Maybe back in the 80s.
But even now, is that a thing you could just get?
I don't know. You can make it. Can you make it?
I think I've asked this question during this series.
It does sound familiar,
and I do feel like you gave the exact same answer. You can you make it.
At least I'm consistent. I don't know.
I think. People listening are like, you fuckers talked about this 1 week ago. Well, sorry.
1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers.
And that's why I asked the same questions over and over again.
I hope no kids came over and accidentally ate cyanide. Well, it looks like candy laying around.
Dave, they're top of door frames. They can't reach them. He was responsible. Okay. He was being responsible about it. You're not going to leave them out in a candy dish.
That's fair enough.
Put them in with the M&Ms. Play Russian roulette with candy. Grab a handful and you don't know what you're going to get.
The first thing police found that pointed towards foul play was Harvey Dubbs' video equipment. When the Dubbs family went missing, all the police had to go on was an eyewitness who said that they saw a balding man with a beard and a, quote, strange, muscular Chinese man. in the neighborhood that evening. Now they had Harvey's video equipment in this weird cabin that was lived in by two guys that fit that description.
Pretty good description.
Yeah.
For that eyewitness.
It's accurate.
You know, when he said that, when that guy eyewitness said that, I knew exactly who he was talking about. I figured it out right there. I think I should become a police detective. I can do
Not
it.
too late.
I think I can do it.
You got like 2 years left, right?
Yeah.
For eligibility.
Do that.
Get in there.
You know, if a child's killed, don't move the body upstairs.
Oh, that's another good one.
And cover it with a blanket from the house. I got this.
It's a good first step.
Don't let, groups into the home.
You're really coming with the good advice tonight.
I think I could do it.
To be a police consultant and teach at the academy.
From now on, I'll be police detective Mike. Refer to me as detective moving forward. Got this.
I think it's a new character. I like
I
it.
just figured out who committed all these crimes based on that eyewitness statement. I can piece it all together, I think. I can puzzle it together. I know who did it.
So at this
Notice
point,
in his description, he did not mention cricket, though.
Oh, okay. Well, she's probably driving a getaway car. Bitch.
No, coming after and role playing as one of the victims and, banging out Lake.
So the police are probably fairly certain they got their guy at this point. It all adds up.
Or they know who it is. They don't have him.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, these are the guys for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. Well, when he takes a cyanide pill and you had just arrested him for what, burglary, and he's killing himself. You're like, yeah,
That was the first
something fishy's going on here.
Getting to the search of the bunker, the main room was a 20-foot by 12-foot workshop area with a bunch of tools and power saws hanging on a plywood wall next to a workbench. On closer inspection, many of the tools were found to be covered with a dried brownish substance that was possibly or probably blood. Attached to the bench was a broken vise, probably why Ng tried to steal one to replace it. And as they searched the room further, detectives checked the dimensions of it and discovered it was smaller than the size it seemed to be from the outside and figured there was probably a hidden room. They soon found that the plywood tool rack was actually a door leading to a smaller room. Inside was a double bed, a side table, books, and a reading lamp, and on one of the walls was a wooden plaque with the words Operation Miranda carved into it.
Some kind of sick, deranged pride of ownership thing going on there.
Yeah.
Fucking plaque on the wall.
The room also contained military equipment, including uniforms, boots, tons of guns, assault rifles, shotguns, machine guns. On the floor, police found a work shirt and baseball hat with the words Dennis Moving Service embroidered on them. So,
That guy he killed for seniority, right?
yeah,
Ugh.
he killed two people from him that when he worked there.
Who was the other one? The guy that took off a week and he's like, oh, bitch, you still have seniority? He killed him.
And the one that he got into an argument with, and the guy called him, said something to the effect of like, you goddamn Chinaman, I should have never given you this job.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I forgot about that second one.
Yeah, he killed two people while he was at the moving company.
God damn.
In a bookshelf on the far wall, between books on explosives and chemicals, detectives found a small window that appeared to be made up of multiple panes of glass. On another shelf was a military starlight scope, which was initially designed for snipers and is capable of viewing objects in extremely low light conditions. Like basically night vision, like a night vision sniper scope. On another wall were 21 photographs of young girls in various stages of undressing, most of which were taken outdoors.
Did we just time travel back to Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Two of the pictures had been taken in front of wallpaper with cartoon characters on it, and police would eventually identify the wallpaper as being the same that was used in the South City Juvenile Hall, which was the same location that Cricket worked as a teacher's aide.
Well, was the wallpaper Doug? Because I heard all crazy people like that Doug show.
Probably. Yeah. I'm just thinking about Doug porn now. That's what I want to get into. Dear Diary, today I banged out Pat Mayonnaise.
After checking their measurements again, the detectives found that there was probably a third room behind that small window. Behind a bookcase, there was another secret door that led to a room with a window. The room itself was only 3 foot by 7 foot, and inside they found a small bed, a chemical toilet, air fresheners, and a water container.
What's a chemical toilet? What does that mean?
Dissolves the excrement and stuff with chemicals.
So it's not like a flush type thing, or?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. And all my various urinations that I've had, like 45 a day.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used a chemical toilet.
Can you imagine being in a 21 square foot room and having to go to the bathroom?
I
think that's strong chemicals.
3 foot by 7 foot, though. That gives me like claustrophobia thinking about it.
Oh my God, yeah.
3 foot by 7 foot. I wouldn't even have room for my dangle.
Where am I going to put my penis, Lenny? Doesn't even fit in this mini room.
What do you want me to do with this thing? Like, come on. I mean, at least an extra 12 feet here.
Oh, jeez.
Holes had been drilled in the wall to provide ventilation, but they were covered with not a screen. I can't remember the word for it. It was something that I didn't know what it was, but it's something that like air could still go through.
Okay.
But no light would come through.
Yeah.
I can't remember the material that they used to do that.
Well, holes is holes, right, Mike?
That's what I've always said. I literally have that tattooed on my ass.
And the O didn't need to be tattooed. It was
right
anatomically there.
It was there.
He saved 20%. He only had to have the HLENS tattooed.
One less letter. Come on. I go for those discount tats. I want to start a tattoo place. Sorry. I want to start a tattoo place and call it Discount Tats and just see if anybody would ever show up. Discount
they would for sure.
Yeah.
And then you're going to tattoo?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll just hire guys fresh out of prison, get prison tat style.
Mike, we do have a patron that's asked for you to draw a tattoo they would like to get. So whatever you want to draw.
They want me to tattoo them?
They want you to...
That is not okay.
They want you to draw something, and they would like to get it tattooed.
What do they want me to draw?
Whatever we've had this discussion. Apparently you forgot about it, but anything. It's your dealer's choice, Mike's choice. Whatever you want to draw.
So anything I draw for this, is it a man or woman?
It's a man.
He's going to get tattooed on him.
Correct.
I'm calling his bluff.
Do it. Draw it up.
All right. I'll come up with something.
All right.
After closely examining both rooms at the same time, they discovered that the window was two-way glass. They later discovered a button beside it, which, when it was pushed, allowed people in the first room to hear any sounds coming from within the smaller room. When they turned off the lights and used the sniper scope, they found that it was perfectly set up to just watch their captives in the dark.
It's a fucking horror movie.
Yeah.
How many places like that are out there? Man. Terrifying.
What's the FBI? What's their estimate?
A couple hundred? Or
I think it's lower than that.
150?
I thought it was like 50 or 75.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
No, it's low, but still.
Dave's out here terrifying everybody.
Yeah, it's under 100, but that are operating at any given time.
Like 2 per state, maybe.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about, like, anytime you stay in a hotel, like, what if any of those mirrors were like one of those where people can be watching you from the other room or something?
I guess it's possible. People are freaks, man. You always hear about. I just saw
like hidden cameras set up.
Fucking weirdos.
Yeah. Someone local or within the Cleveland area, not that long, or within the last couple of years, didn't they get in trouble for putting those little hidden cams
right, yeah,
in women's bathrooms and stuff?
Weird, man. Some pastor, I know this is going to shock you, but he just got 35 years in prison for taping little kids changing or something.
More of that on next month's Bible Battle.
Police had a survey team go over the property, and they found tons of spots where there had been holes dug and covered. In one of these, police found a plastic barrel with a videotape inside labeled M Ladies, Kathy and Brenda, which was the tape that we talked about in detail, and then on part 2 a little bit. which is so fucking stupid. Why would you just write exactly what it is on the tape?
For real.
Yeah.
If you're trying to hide something.
Maybe kayfabe a little bit. Yeah.
Like write it some random TV show or something.
Something.
Yeah.
The Goonies.
Sure.
Great movie.
Maybe. Police would have been like, all right, throw that away. So that actually would have been a good idea, honestly. I'm like, all right, throw it away.
Also in this barrel, there were tons of nude photos of women and girls, Lake's diary, and another video that was labeled taboo. As police...
Why would you not destroy them?
People get bold, man. They get away with shit. They're like, no one's going to touch us.
So we're assuming that like this was all done ahead of time. Like this wasn't like Cricket burying this stuff after Lake was dead. Because like I'm thinking if it was Cricket doing it, Lake's already dead. Destroy that shit. Because now it's on.
I wasn't thinking it was Cricket.
You think they were just doing it, keep it hidden. They
Safekeeping,
dig it up when they wanted to watch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot, but
It's, well, all of this seems...
they were proud of all this stuff.
Right. Still, label it something else. Doug, seasons 1 through 3.
As they kept looking at these spots on the ground, they noticed a spot of dozens, if not hundreds, of ants carrying maggot eggs from a spot that had a half-buried piece of plywood in the ground. When police pulled up the plywood, they found a piece of human spine that still had flesh attached, which turned out to be from the first known M lady, Kathy Allen.
She was just the 18-year-old girl, right?
Yeah.
Like,
this led police to find thousands of bone fragments on the property, almost all of them having been burned, and a charred piece of human liver. The medical examiner determined that some of the bones and the piece of liver came from a child that was between the ages of 3 and 7 years old. We know for a fact that Lake and Ing were responsible for the murder of 2 children, which were both a little more than a year old, so this points to them killing more children that we just don't know about. We also know for a fact that, including the 2 babies, Lake and Ing are confirmed to have killed 11 people. But with the amount of bone fragments that were found, it points to the FBI and police thinking that they at least killed 25 people in this 2-year period.
Wow.
yikes.
It was about, I think, if I remember correctly, 45 pounds of bone fragments.
Holy shit.
After being burned.
Yeah, after. That's why they think 25 people.
Man.
And with the kids, the older kids' bones found within there, you would have to maybe assume like just wiping out a whole other family.
Yeah.
Because they had already done it twice. So they weren't above that.
And no one ever even came forward, though.
No, I figured there might have been something online maybe where somebody dug into like missing persons cases from back then and tried to link them. Yeah, but I didn't see anything about like who those other people could have been.
Right.
Wow. I mean, but of course there were more. Of course there were.
Yeah. The next step was to watch the tapes, which we already talked about the M Lady one, but the one labeled Taboo just looked like a normal movie recorded from TV. However, watching a second time, the detective watching noticed a split-second flash on the screen. When the detective paused at the flash, it showed 2 bodies wrapped in plastic and sleeping bags stacked in a blue wheelbarrow. Police found that the blue wheelbarrow was the same one in the shed on the property, and buried in one of the spots, they found the bodies of Lonnie Bond Sr. and Scott Stapley, still wrapped in the plastic and sleeping bags saw in the video.
Well, so they taped all that, and they just decided to tape over it for good measure?
Or maybe they just decided they didn't want that anymore. I don't know.
Yet they didn't do it perfectly.
No.
That's the thing about VHS tapes.
You got to burn those tapes, man. Tape over.
That's what I'm talking about. Like what,
Yeah. That's like when you taped over your wedding tape with WWF pay-per-view, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm so old, I have things in VHS.
I used to record Raw all the time back in the day.
See?
On VHS tapes.
Yes, when you were a child.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I meant your first communion, not your wedding. Your first communion.
Well, I think that was a smart move, right? Stone Cold Stunning Vince McMahon or a First Communion? What would you rather watch?
So Lake was arrested and committed suicide on June 2nd, 1985. By July 1st, 1985, police had presented all of this evidence to a judge and had multiple murder charges filed against Charles Ng. On the same day as charges were filed, an international manhunt was issued for Charles Ng, conducted by the FBI, Interpol, Scotland Yard, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. As soon as they found all these, 45 pounds of bone fragments, no one was fucking around. They were all in on trying to find Charles Ng.
I would hope so.
On July 6, 1985, Charles Ng went to the Hudson Bay Company store in Calgary, where he was seen by security walking around the store, putting stuff in a bag that he brought into the store with him.
Guy can't help himself.
Can't.
He just loves it. He likes to steal things.
damn.
What was the joke I made last week? And not knowing what was to come, he's going to get busted like stealing a pack of gum.
Yeah.
I was pretty damn close.
Right there.
2 liter of Pepsi.
Yeah, he stole a can of salmon, a 2 liter of Pepsi, some canned soup, sugar, and some other random shit.
Canned salmon. I've not had that.
Make
Can't imagine
salmon
it's good.
patties. It's not bad.
I always thought salmon patties would be like frozen, like salmon
I
patties.
thought they use
sell-
canned salmon.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't
I'm
know.
no expert. I'm just supposing. I like a good salmon patty with some mustard.
Well, that could be okay. I just, out of I think I'd rather have it frozen than out of a can. I don't know. I'd have to try them.
but then you have to mash it up. This is already mashed up.
Look at who we're talking to here. I eat everything out of a can. Maybe I just fucking pop that can of salmon open and just go to town on it.
Maybe you would.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's also what they serve cats, right? Like that's cat food.
Yeah, more or less with some filler, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right.
When he walked out of the store, security approached him, which resulted in a struggle, and Ng pulled a .22 out of his bag. The two members of security wrestled Ng to the ground, during which struggle Ng shit himself.
I'm shitting my pants, literally. Did you hear that?
Oh, Jesus. Are we back to the toilet humor?
I think that started in part 1. Just coming full circle on it.
That was a good clip. I think that's Bam Margera, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That is pretty funny, though. Like he's just in this altercation and just shits himself.
Ng was arrested for theft, assault, and attempted murder. Sitting in his cell, Ng tried to hang himself using his shorts that were covered in shit, and he was stopped by the police. They took all of his clothes without letting him shower, so Charles sat naked and covered in his own shit until he waited to be arraigned for charges.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. Fuck.
Wait, let me get my tissues here while I cry for the sob story.
So who was he hiding out with in Canada? Was he staying with his siblings? Which sibling?
There was a family member he was going.
His sister lived in Canada.
Suck. Her name's Suck. And his brother's name Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sucking's okay, but I fucking is my favorite of his siblings.
I liked their third cousin, Cuck. He was my favorite.
He just sat in the corner, though. He didn't say much.
Exactly.
Just like to watch what was going on.
He meant no harm.
I thought you were for real trying to ask a question about about who he was hiding out with.
I was. It's a dual purpose.
And I was proud because I was like, wait, I actually knew this one. We said last week he was going to see his sister. Dave was just putting us on.
This would start a 14-year run of Charles Ng gaming the system to avoid being tried and sentenced for the murders in the U.S. First, Ng knew that taking a bench trial in Canada was a bad idea because historically, when you take a bench trial in Canada, you're going to get the maximum sentence from a judge. There's also a treaty set up between the United States and Canada that if someone needs to be extradited to a state in the U.S. that has the death penalty, Canada has the option to deny the extradition.
Well, it's because Canada's full of tree-hugging murder lovers like Mike over here.
Yeah. Canada's like, yeah, America, we see what violent, sadistic fucks you are. We're not going to be that. We're going to be a better society.
Fair enough.
We reserve the right to keep the criminals in our system. Maybe we'll send them to you, but maybe not. We're going to drink some Crown Royal and have a few Molsons and go to a hockey game, and we'll get back to you. In all fairness, the crimes committed in the United States compared to the crimes committed in Canada, you send this guy back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, the guy was stealing fucking canned salmon as opposed to the atrocities he committed in the States.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, Canada decided that Ng needed to face his sentence in Canada before they would even discuss him being extradited, which in all took 4 years to be negotiated and get Ng to California to face trial for murder.
What happened with those charges in Canada?
They negotiated a deal. He should have been in jail longer in Canada than the 4 years because they also charged him with attempted murder for pulling out the gun.
So he went to trial. He was found guilty. They put him in prison, and then they worked out a deal where he was going to get released, but sent back to the States to face these other charges.
Right. He went from Canadian jail straight to California.
They probably should have just sent him to California.
You would think,
even capital punishment aside, like, let's look at the crimes committed here. He should probably stand trial for those.
Stealing salmon's no joke up in Canada.
you would think 11 murders would trump stealing a can of salmon.
I agree.
Well, I think it's more about the death penalty extradition.
Yeah.
Than the other thing.
I think from their standpoint it is, but
I don't know.
There's still justice that needs to be served for those victims here in the States that, I think it's a separate debate on the what the capital punishment and what his, punishment should be in the end. But
well, a lot of countries won't extradite to a death penalty country.
Yeah.
France, the same way. That's why people go to those countries.
I get it. Again, it's canned salmon. And the guy shit himself. He, and had to sit in it. Is that not
I'm shitting my pants, literally.
Is that not punishment enough in Canada? Like, you shit yourself?
It's not great.
We're going to send you to California now.
The only thing that I could possibly think of that they wanted him, that they were taking his sentence serious. I don't know what the gun laws are like in Calgary, but if it's hard to get a gun and he had a gun on him,
I assure you it's not easy.
I would see them maybe wanting to make an example out of him because the fact that he had a gun and pulled it out, but still 11 murders.
I think there's a lot of things that we more tolerate here in the United States and in Canada. They're like, you're fucked.
Oh, yeah.
DUIs being one of them. Like, you're fucked in Canada if you get a DUI.
You can't even go in the country from the U.S., right?
Oh, yeah.
Or you got to get special dispensation with they'll question your DUI.
Yeah. So it gets a little tricky. And it, like you said, it just extended this process for years and years and years.
Yeah, because he purposely took the bench trial because he knew damn well that he would get a max sentence for that.
Interesting legal maneuvering.
But
I still think it's all about the death penalty extradition, though.
Wouldn't you want the max penalty in Canada as opposed to the max penalty in the United States?
That's what
he said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying he was avoiding that.
He wanted the max in Canada in hopes that...
He was like, please,
right.
Give me 10 years for attempted murder or whatever it is here. I'm joking, of course, but yeah.
During his time in prison in Canada, Charles Ng was being Charles Ng. He got along with everyone. Inmates thought he was hilarious with his spin kicks, but specifically, he made friends with an inmate named Maurice LeBerge. LeBerge and Ng had nicknames for each other. LeBerge called Ng Slant, while Ng called LeBerge Grasshopper from the movie Karate Kid.
Wax on, wax off.
The one thing that Ng did that would come back to haunt him was that during that 4-year period, he drew LeBerge around 200 cartoons of his crimes.
That's a good idea, huh?
This is the shit.
One of these drawings showed Leonard Lake holding a whip in his right hand, his dick in his left hand, with a woman bent over with her wrists and ankles bound. There was a bubble above Lake's head that said, quote, "Oh, I love you, Kathy. I really do." While in the left side of the picture, behind Lake, there's a cartoon of Ing with a bubble that said, "Rice is ready, dinner time."
Oh, boy. Are these available anywhere?
You can see this one
Can
online.
you?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, this guy's absolutely a ridiculous human being.
He's the most absurd human being I've ever read about.
Exactly.
And that's saying something. I mean, that's quite an impressive list of ridiculous human beings.
Yeah. Charles Ing is definitely the most ridiculous person.
I just saw this on LA Times. I'm sorry. Ron Jeremy indicted on more than 30 counts of sexual assault.
Goddamn.
I thought that happened already.
I knew that they had like an investigation on him.
He's going away.
Yeah, he does.
There was actually an AMA on Reddit a while back of a porn star. She was anonymous. Like, that shit is just rampant.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's awful.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty toxic environment.
Yeah. Yeah, her AMA was pretty rough.
Anyways, okay.
Ron Jeremy, he could suck his own cock, though, so there's that.
Ron Jeremy can?
You ever seen it?
No. No. I'm not
Go
going to
watch a video of the guy sucking his own dick.
I'll pass on that one. I believe you, Dave.
He's a self-made man, Mike.
All right, well. If you could do that, why are you sexually assaulting people? Like, come on.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Some of them were young, too, like under like 15 years old.
If you could do that, why would you even leave your house?
Yeah. I would never talk to a woman again. This is off air, right? I derailed this conversation.
No, it's not off air. We have a keg here. You DoorDash, and you can suck your own cock. Why are you ever leaving the house?
I just feel bad I interrupted a story to talk about breaking news. Ron Jeremy charged.
Breaking news. People want to know, Mike.
Yeah. Well, by the time this episode comes out, in a week and a half or 5 days from now.
What do they call that guy? The hedgehog? Looks like
Ron
a hedgehog,
Jeremy?
right?
A picture they showed of him in court, he had a mask on. He did not look well. 68 years
ugly
old.
bastard.
Yeah.
He's not an attractive man.
No, he's not.
Okay. Well, if this makes air, then there's your breaking news.
Thanks for the interlude, Mike. Yeah, good stuff. Mm-hmm. Mike's watching him suck his own dick.
I will 100% never watch that.
I don't believe that.
I don't want to know what that looks like. I don't want to even. Ugh. I mean,
it's like an Olympic gymnastics competition, somewhat, right?
Yeah, sure. Sex Olympics, gold medalist right there.
Another drawing showed a cartoon of Ing sitting in his jail cell picking his nose, and behind him were pictures hung up on the wall with names under them. The names were Carol, Cosner, Parental, Dubs, Gerald, Allen, and Bond. All known murder victims.
Bold.
A third that was used as evidence that Ing drew was a drawing of Ing with a chef's hat on, cooking a baby in a wok with the words, "Daddy dies, Mommy cries, baby fries" at the top, which was the chant that he used at the Dennis Moving Company around the time that the Dubs family were murdered. Based on evidence that we're going to get into in a bit, this implies that Ing probably burned the Dubs baby alive.
This is turning into one of the Unit 731 is the only thing that really comes close to some of this stuff we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Man.
The final one that was used as evidence that I know about was a picture of Ing doing the thing that he called the asshole death grip that we talked about on part 1 or 2. The other inmate that Ing talked to all the time was a guy named Ed Popovich, who was in the military prison with Ing back before all this started. Popovich's testimony would be used against Ing in the trial in the U.S. that we're going to get into. If we remember back to part 1, Lake sent Ing all kinds of letters into military prison with pictures of the bunker, pictures of Cricket, and pretty detailed information about Operation Miranda. So Ing kept in contact with Popovich after they got out of prison and would call him at least once a week, running his mouth about what he and Lake were up to. We talked about this earlier in the show. You could definitely make the argument that Popovich should have contacted police about what Ing was saying, just the same as Cricket. But according to Popovich, Ing had specific words for people that he used. During one conversation, Ing told him that he and Lake had, quote, wasted a boofer. Boofer being a term that Ing used for black people. And it's the prosecution really was like, no one uses that word. Like they were really able to single that out.
That's a homemade word you made up, clown.
Yeah. Which would point to the murder of Maurice Rock, who was murdered to get to victim Cheryl Okoro, who Maurice was dating. Another conversation, Ing told him that he, quote, roasted a sucker. Sucker being a term Ing used for babies and children. This was around the time of the Dubs family murder, and further clues in the conversation led to Popovich believing that Ing had burned the baby alive. There were also numerous conversations where Ing told Popovich what he and Lake were doing at the cabin with holding women captive, raping, and killing them. Ing would invite Popovich over all the time to be part of it, pretty much saying like, hey man, get up here. You'd love it. You know, get in on this with us. To Popovich's credit, he never took Ing up on the offer. And it sounded like he wished Ing would stop calling him, but he should have reported these conversations.
He was almost a decent human being.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, to my credit, Ian, I didn't kill anyone today. So is that how it works?
Yeah.
It's a good start here in America. Here in America, where we celebrate violence, that's a good start, Dave.
I'll pat myself on the back.
Yeah, good job,
thanks, fellas.
Good job.
Appreciate that. I thought about it a couple times, but I didn't actually do it.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah.
On September 26, 1991, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled by a vote of 4-3 against Ing, and he was deported to California within an hour of the ruling.
Fast-tracked his ass out of there.
After those 4 years of being in prison in Canada, when Ing got to California, he continued this game of delaying the process. I have questions for those 3 judges that voted to keep him in Canada.
Well, I think Dave might probably, said earlier, like we're just probably against the death penalty and figured, well, let's just keep him here.
When did California put a hold on the death penalty?
2006.
So that had nothing to do with it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
They haven't executed anybody since 2006.
Going back a second, did anything happen to Popovich? Or you just talked to him for a while? Because you can't really charge him with anything, even though, it's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, if you're Popovich, do you take him seriously? Like, in prison, I'm sure there's a lot of hard asses that run their mouths and say they did stuff, and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah.
I guess, but if a guy's calling you every week and talking, hey, come on up here, we're holding some women captive, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the way Popovich sounds when you read his testimony, like in full. It's like, yeah, Ing's a shit talker. He called me all the time. I wish he wouldn't have called me,
Probably just more of a nuisance of like, oh, this guy again.
Yeah.
Let me listen to what he has to say, and then I'll say, okay, and then hang up.
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't think
I just mean it would be hard to, like, if you were going to you can't really get him on anything.
Yeah.
According to Popovich, it was more of he didn't believe anything Ing was telling him. But then afterwards with the evidence, he's like, oh yeah, I remember he said that he killed it, his term a boofer. And it was real specific stuff. So Ing would act like he was going to agree to a plea bargain, then back out. He would fire 10 lawyers in all, just over and over again. He filed motions on his own about judge misconduct or juror misconduct. Cricket's testimony, like we talked about earlier, was absolutely worthless, and she probably should have had her immunity taken away. And there were also some jurors that were excused for illness or actual misconduct, not Ing making up shit. And this all, this resulted in a couple mistrials.
That right there is how long, couple mistrials. That's years, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Ing also sued the state over his temporary detainment at Folsom Prison, where he was caught hiding maps, fake IDs, and other escape materials. He filed a ton of complaints regarding the strength of his glasses, the temperature of his food, and his right to do origami in his jail cell.
I'm stuck in Folsom Prison and my food is cold.
Is the temperature of food in prison ever good? Like,
It can't be, right?
I just imagine get in line, pal, with that complaint.
Yeah. You can't do origami. Huh?
I've seen Shawshank. I've seen those maggots in that food.
Oh, God.
During this time period, Ng went through a series of sessions with psychiatrist Stuart Gracian, who said that Ng had dependent personality disorder, but made that diagnosis without viewing the tapes that showed Ng participating in crimes. So I'm not sure why this psychiatrist's opinion was even taken for trial if he didn't even watch the evidence.
Valid point.
The clinical psychologist Abraham Nivod did watch the tapes and agreed with the diagnosis of dependent personality disorder, and said that Ng's behavior in the tapes showed that he was attempting to mirror and please Leonard Lake. They were all of the opinion that Lake was the true ringleader and Ng was just following orders.
That seems accurate, right? Mostly, based on what we've seen.
The prosecution, when we get into the pictures, they're going to point towards some stuff that Charles Ng said to LaBerge that wasn't in drawings, where he bragged about killing more people than Leonard Lake. And the prosecution's going to point toward that drawing that had specific names on them and say that he was, they would use that as evidence that he was responsible for those murders. Based on what Ng told LaBerge, Ng was the brutal one of the pair.
All right.
But I think even just looking back at part 3 and the transcripts we read, it was very clear who was running the show. It wasn't Charles Ng.
No.
So he was like Lake's attack dog, maybe even.
Like the muscle type.
Yeah. Strange Chinese muscular man.
Good cop, bad cop type thing.
Yeah. Like, do what we say, or this scary guy in the corner over here is going to fucking cut your head off.
Right.
Chanting, no kill, no thrill.
Yeah. Right.
Remember, he was the one that was stripping Brenda O'Connor too, right? Like, he was the one taking her clothes off and threatening her. Leonard Lake was the one just behind the camera, and then was the one that finally was like, okay, go sit on the couch and go get her a glass of water. He was a piece of shit, but he was the one playing more of the nicer guy.
That's fair.
Which I think lends to him being the leader and Ng being more of the follower.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Not to justify what Ng did. Just saying.
So at this point, we just fast forward through a ton of stuff. We're in January of 1999 at this point. The prosecution really sat down and worked out a deal that took a long time to set up, where Ng would plead guilty to everything in exchange for life in prison. This is how juror Nancy McEwen said that the day we're going to be talking about went down. Quote, around 11 in the morning, a bunch of media people came running out of the courtroom and got on their cell phones or lined up at the 2 payphones. What's going on? Something big. I thought they had probably come to a plea bargain agreement in exchange for life in prison. I was disappointed. I wanted my vote and my say in deliberations. They finally called us to a very crowded courtroom. I immediately noticed Mr. Ng's chair was empty. I figured I was right about the plea bargain, and that the extra bailiffs we saw go in there to take him away. Then I was shocked to see him sitting in the witness chair.
I don't think that's a good idea, Chucky.
This was Ng's last attempt at derailing the trial, and this was not a very smart one.
For a guy who wanted to stay in Canada, though, to avoid maximum, capital punishment.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty sweet plea bargain, right? You're not going to be killed.
I think he's blowing up the plea bargain, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
why would you be blowing that up?
Yeah, exactly.
You literally, you could have stayed in Canada and maybe been in prison for life or for a long time. Now they're giving you a plea bargain. You're going to avoid death, and you're blowing it up.
I don't know if he thought that by him just doing this and saying he would take the stand would cause another delay, a mistrial, something. I think this was his last attempt at trying to pull something like that off, and this was just not a good idea, not going to work out in his favor. On the stand, Ng was asked how he viewed Leonard Lake. Ng said, I viewed him as a veteran, as a person that was in Vietnam. in the Marine Corps. He told me he was a staff sergeant when he retired. So I look at him as a person that have like senior to me. I view him as a patriot because he fought for the country, and I view him as a person who is very knowledgeable about different things like homesteading, history, and geography, and also things of common interest in the Marine Corps that we usually talk about. So my tendency is to follow his advice and respect his judgment. Prosecutors asked Ng about that whole chanting, "Daddy dies, mommy cries, baby fries," while working at the moving company, and he said that it was, quote, "in the spirit of jocular type locker room talk."
That's locker room talk. It's fine.
He's going to use that term again and again throughout this trial, like in stuff that I didn't put in here, quotes, that all this stuff is just jocular and satire.
Jocular. I'm going to start using that word.
This whole show is jocular talk. Yeah. Necronomipod is jocular talk.
Regarding his drawings that Ng gave to LeBerge, he said, quote, "It came about as a way to kill time and as a result of information that LeBerge had supposedly read about me or heard about me. It resulted in jocular activity between me and him. He would draw part of the cartoon and slide it over to me, and I would embellish it and send it back. That is kind of humor thing between him and me." It's a jocular activity.
Jocular, yeah.
So funny. Look, if I'm in a locker room, I'm making eye contact with no one. I'm sure as hell not communicating with anybody. I'm changing. I'm getting in and out and moving out with my day.
That's your etiquette in a locker room.
And that should be every man's etiquette in a locker room. I don't need you to make eye contact with me when you're fucking drying your balls off.
That the old guys like to put their knee up on the bench.
Sure, man.
Their ball sack down to their knees, so you have to look at it.
Is an old man happier anywhere else than being nude in a locker room?
Prancing around.
They love it. They love it. Why?
I don't know, man.
I'm just saying.
It's quite strange.
My locker room experiences are very different than Charles Ng alleges his experiences were.
Regarding the drawing of Ng with the bowl of rice that said it's dinner time, he said, quote, "It was something funny. The background where I was standing with a bowl of rice, that is a joke because in the transcript, Lake was talking about how you will fuck for us, work for us, and cook for us. When in fact, you know, none of the M ladies have ever cooked for us or washed for us. And I was actually doing most of the cooking when I am up there. So that's why I put that as like essentially the satire of the whole unrealistic situation placed on those transcripts."
Yeah, okay, Pally.
I have no words for this fucking clown. Come on.
He's the most absurd human being that I've ever read about. About the drawing of the asshole death grip of having anal sex with a woman while you choke her to death from behind, Ng said, quote, "LeBerge kind of pulled my leg, and I end up making the writing as kind of a satire to show that this is how ludicrous this kind of saying is." And like we've been laughing about him, talking about how he's absurd. You know, like there oddly is this humor to him, like just how stupid of a criminal he is, how absurd the shit that he says, trying to explain away some of this stuff. But questioning about his conversation with LeBerge really puts it back into perspective, at least for me when I was reading the book, because I'm like kind of like this odd humor with him. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to conversations, it really put it back into perspective at what type of a monster Charles Ng is. I'm just going to run through this transcript real quick. "Did you tell Maurice LeBerge, at first I felt funny about wasting the baby, but then I figured it was better that way having no parents? No. Did you tell Maurice LeBerge that you told Debbie Dubs she would have to decide fast whether she wanted your dick or her baby because her baby was already dead? No. Did you tell Maurice LeBerge that you rammed a 45 into her cunt and then put it in your mouth? No. Did you tell Maurice LeBerge, at the time my dick was king, what am I supposed to do? Have sex with her and her husband and the baby is dead? Am I supposed to let her go? No." And there's a lot worse than that in the book that it's kind of mind blowing to read.
Wow.
The lawyers, you know, talking about all the shit that he actually said to that LeBerge guy.
LeBears must have a pretty good memory to be able to recount this. But I guess if you hear shit like that, you probably fucking remember it too, right?
Or see pictures that he drew for you or whatever.
Ing denied everything and put all the blame on Leonard Lake when it came to murder. Regarding him being seen on the tapes and talking the way that he did, Ing said, quote, "I've done horrendous things. I certainly regret it. It was when I was young and adventurous and surrendered my independent judgment. That I always going to regret." The way he says young and adventurous, it seems like you're talking about being irresponsible and drinking when you're underage. Or you know what I mean?
Adventurous. You went on a backpacking trip to Europe, you know, after high school.
Took a car on a joyride.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, pal.
Because he's admitting to, I mean, he has to admit to being on the tape. So he knew about the forcible imprisonment and rape of women. So that's what he's talking about. That's he's young and adventurous, that he regrets.
Was his family at this trial?
Yeah. I had a mental note I'm going to bring up about his dad in a little bit. And with that last quote, the prosecution was done, and it would be set for closing arguments. The prosecution laid out everything that we've been talking about for the past 4 weeks, while the defense stuck to the story that Ing just followed Lake's orders and never killed anyone. However, the defense added one new detail, that the bones found on the property came from, quote, roughly 10 cats, because Ing said that they were killing stray cats for food at times.
I don't have to be some pretty large cats. Doesn't seem to add up.
10 cats, 45 pounds of fragments.
Nope.
Both sides rested on February 23rd, 1999, and after 14 years, the jury returned a verdict within hours. They found Charles Ing guilty of the murder of 6 men, 3 women, and 2 baby boys. The charge of murdering the 7th man, Paul Cosner, who had been killed for the Honda Prelude, had been dropped due to insufficient evidence. There wasn't enough evidence to say if Ing or Lake shot Paul Cosner in the back of the head, and Ing didn't really run his mouth about that murder to LeBears or anybody else. And you brought up his parents. They flew in from Hong Kong for this trial.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I don't know if it was on part 1 or 2. Whenever we were talking about Charles Ing growing up, that quote about his dad
beating him,
he felt really bad.
Yeah.
So at the trial, when all this was over, you know, people can say their close, you know, their statements,
right,
their victim impact statements. He did one, and he was in tears, apologizing to the family members for beating Charles Ing.
Oh,
because he really put all of it on himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That was, I want to say part 1.
That sounds right.
I feel awful for that guy. Like,
yeah,
you shouldn't probably beat your kids or put your hands on them in any way, shape, or form. But to put 11 murders, you know, plus on your back, that's, you're being a little hard on yourself.
Some people are just bad. It's not necessarily
right.
Nature nurture.
I don't think anything that you did led to all of this.
That's fair.
That's awful. Did Charles Ing have a relationship with his parents at all? Like throughout his life after he moved away and was doing all this?
Yeah.
Like that they would come from Hong Kong for this? Or was this just kind of like a, we haven't heard from him in, 20, 30 years, but we're going to go because it's our son?
I don't know what type of contact he had with his parents. I knew he had some with his siblings, specifically his sister in Canada.
Suck.
Yeah.
That's not fair. I apologize. His sister's like, what did I do?
His poor sister, yeah.
It's a made-up
God
sister,
damn.
not his real sister.
It's Dave's terrible jokes sister. His sweet sister who's living in Canada, trying to just get through in life. Now she's going to be called Sucking. He's so laughing about it. His own damn joke.
This was kind of what I was going to wrap up with, but we're talking about it right now. I think Charles Ing had every opportunity given to him from his parents. He got beat, when he was being bad. It's a different time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not everybody that got beat back in the day is not capable of killing two babies.
And we're saying beat and I don't remember, like, was he physically abused, or was it just when he
fucked up, his dad hit him with a cane, like on the behind, like.
It's pretty intense. It's
pretty
not,
standard
that's not quite
stuff.
But it's not just a spanking. He's being hit with a weapon.
It's also different times.
It's a different time.
And his dad...
People have used paddles. It
was belts over here. There's a cane over there. It's not all that different, I guess.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's intense now, I think, but it's not, abuse like some of these killers we talk about who were, brutally beaten and or molested and or whatever else. Like, this is a parent trying to raise their kid the right way as opposed to hurting them for the sake of hurting them.
Yeah, this was when Charles Ng fucked up in school, did something bad. This wasn't like an everyday thing. What I was going to wrap up with Ng is that I really feel like Ng represents something that people don't like to or don't want to acknowledge. Everybody thinks it's nature, nurture, or there has to be something in your background that would make you that way. And with Ng, it's, a perfect example of you can just be born like this.
Yeah.
And be capable of it.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's it's not nature or nurture. It's just
it's either or.
Yeah.
But I've seen
a combination of both.
Of both.
I've seen people comment on things about these two and say things like, I hope people like that can't be born, that there had to have been something in his background. There wasn't. He was born with something turned off in his head that would allow you to do this stuff.
I agree. Okay, bye.
He loves the abrupt endings.
One day we're going to actually end a show like that. And people are like,
Mike out, I'm done.
Yeah. People are like, what the fuck?
So Ng's prosecution ended up costing the state of California approximately $20 million, making it the second most expensive trial in the state's history. First being the Satanic Panic trials, and third, O.J. Simpson's trial. As of the day that we're recording this, Charles Ng is sitting on death row at San Quentin State Prison. I'm pretty sure he's still being Charles. I don't think anything's probably changed about him at all. Doing his spin kicks and joking around with everyone.
Well, in his old age, he probably can't do spin kicks as well.
Well, didn't I read he weighs like 500 pounds now, too? So I don't think he's doing any spin kicks.
Does he really?
Have you seen pictures of what he looks like now?
I don't think I saw pictures. So I was reading.
I have a photo that we're going to post. This is him in 2007. He's not huge, but he's he's older.
Normal.
No, there's a recent one where he's real.
A muscular Chinese man, just like the description, but...
So if I look up Charles Ng,
just type in Charles Ng, you'll see a picture of him come out.
It's like 500 pounds an exaggeration. Is he just fat?
Yeah, no, that's an exaggeration.
This is 2018.
It looks like he lost some weight there, a little bit,
blowing up a little bit there compared to that last.
He's also getting older though, like that. Yeah. But like that's portly.
Portly.
I don't know when that's from. I don't know. I'd like to see a 500-pound photo. Anyways, go ahead.
The fact that there's not any pictures of him super recent kind of leads to this. To the outside world, all is quiet from Charles Ng. He never gives any interviews, which is kind of surprising for a guy that liked to run his mouth as much as he did.
Right.
Or maybe just nobody wants to fucking talk to him.
Could have did a cartoon book like our pal Issei Sagawa.
I mean, he did it pretty much his own cartoon book. Just
buying that up.
No one's published it yet. Maybe Cool Down Media can publish that. All proceeds go to the families of the victims.
I think Paranormal Erotica has taught us that it's quite easy to self-publish anything these days. Without even spell checking it.
Yeah. Yep.
As far as Cricket goes, I couldn't find anything about what she's up to, or even if she's still alive. When I clicked, there were some links that said like, what's Claralyn Bala's up to, like, whatever. They led to some pretty shady sites. Weird. You wouldn't expect sites like that to show up on the front page of Google, but
that's something coming from the guy who just gives his personal information to every website that asks.
Yeah. How many accounts did you open on these sites?
Yeah.
Like the first one I clicked on, it was trying to download malware. I'm like, all right, this is really weird.
I'm just trying to do some research here.
I tried to do one of those background check things on her. I tried to been verified on her.
Yeah.
Nothing came up. I think she probably changed her name.
I'm sure, yeah. It's Grasshopper now.
Good one.
So yeah, that's the story of Leonard Lake and Charles Ng.
Only took a month to get through.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Meanwhile, Israel Keys fans are still like, motherfuckers. How dare you, sirs?
They'll get over it.
We'll get to him someday.
I will say, fellas, this was quite a jocular episode compared to last week.
Yeah, we were able
Is it though? Isn't every episode pretty fucking jocular? I mean, I would argue.
Last week was not jocular, no.
We were very serious last week.
That's true. Well, what jokes could be made?
Yeah.
Pretty disturbing, like real life horror movie stuff is how I kind of look at this.
I think the thing that interests me the most about this case is with Leonard Lake, you see a background, whether his grandma let him or ignored it. He was taking pictures of his sisters. He was getting blowjobs from his sisters. And you see that evolve with him, like, forcing people to look at the pictures all the time and all that shit. But with Ng, it's weird. There's nothing that would point to him, somebody being capable of being a part of killing two whole families, pretty much.
Yeah. It's tough to wrap your head around and explain it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to do with any final thoughts on or closing comments on this stuff. But
like you said, the scary part is there's more people like that out there.
Yeah.
Well, someone like that was
there's less than you led us to believe, but still. Did I say what? There's 2,000-3,000 serial killers out there?
That's not what I said.
I think that's the exact quote, right?
You can go on to 4chan right now and go to the R9K board, and you can read threads of people that think exactly like Leonard Lake thought regarding women. Yeah. There's tons of people out there like this. It's just, thankfully it's rare that
they act on it.
Yeah, that they go as far as Lake did. But you could hop on there now and just read tons of comments, and that type of thought is, used to be stuck to little corners of the world, but now everybody can
find each other
and share this information, this kind of stuff.
So what do we got? Closing thoughts? Final thoughts? Anything that we haven't touched on yet?
No, I think same thing as I said last week or the week before and earlier in the show. If anybody wants to really dig into this more, read Die For Me. It's good. It's like 570 pages, and it really goes into detail about stuff. All the legal proceedings in Canada. Like there's a ton. There's 4 years worth of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. All I'm going to say is that Mike bashed the Goonies again, so now the hate mail is going to come in.
Have we ever gotten...
What's wrong with Mike? How doesn't he like the Goonies?
Have we gotten hate mail about me not liking it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Mike's wrong about the Goonies.
Yeah. It's not a good
People don't like when you say that.
Not a good movie. I was just talking about this with some friends recently, and someone said that they knew somebody who actually loved the Goonies so much they have a Goonies tattoo. I feel bad for that person that they wasted a tattoo on such a shitty movie.
I would get a Goonies tattoo. I would get John Matuzak. Hey, you guys! I would get that dude's face tattooed. Sweet.
What you could do is just ask me to draw like a portrait of someone, and it'll be so bad it would look like that, and then just get that tattooed on you.
What was his name in there? I don't remember what his name in the...
I can't remember.
I think he was shit character number 4.
Corey Feldman was in that movie.
Yes, I know. Okay, it's Academy Award winning in Ian's eyes. Corey Feldman has never made a bad movie. Dave, did you ever hear this? He'll tell you all about it.
I've heard that argument made.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it.
Then I looked at everything he was in, and it's like this window of like maybe 84 to like 90 is like really good.
Oh, now he's qualifying his statement. Interesting.
And then what, at 90 gets the shit?
Yeah, it's not great.
We've talked about this movie all the time. I wanted to watch The Burbs the other day. It is like not available on anything.
Really?
Without like actually purchasing the movie. Why the fuck does the universe hate us so much that it won't let us just watch The Burbs? I want The Burbs on demand any time.
It was on Netflix for a long time.
It was. It's not anymore. Like it's a corny 80s
It should be there
movie.
when you need it.
Why is it just not there?
Agree. That happens to me all the time. I go to watch something like it was on Amazon or Netflix the week before, and then I got to pay for it.
Yeah.
My wants never line up with the free material.
Right. You can fucking
like
watch the entire 97 hours of like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit anytime, anywhere. I can't watch a fucking like 68-minute movie from the 80s featuring Tom Hanks. Like, come on.
68.
I just mean like, it's a real short movie. Meanwhile, all these other ones, fucking all this high cost, big production stuff.
I hear you, man. It's bullshit.
I was too lazy to go look for like all my DVDs, like my book of movies. So I was searching for Heathers. Same thing.
Really?
Couldn't stream it.
See?
You had to pay money for it. So I'm like, well, now I guess I have to get up and go look for the DVD of it to watch it.
Maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just you can buy The Burbs on DVD for what? Like $1?
Probably.
I'll buy it used on Amazon. Shipping will be 4 times the cost of the actual DVD. All right, a couple patron shout outs. Not a couple, a few. But I have some make goods on some names I fucked up. But, I blame that on
1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers.
Or 10 beers.
150 beers. It happens. So thank you very much to Carmen Connect, Bethany Lamperon, Chris the blind forklift driver, and no, that is not a work. He is a shoot blind forklift driver. Kudos to you, man. Been doing it for 25 years. Hell yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say I know how to drive a forklift.
Do you?
Yeah. I can't imagine doing it blind.
This guy's been doing it for 25 years. Imagine that. He's got that shit down.
Kudos to you, man.
And Neil McEckern. Those were my make goods. Now we have to get to the new patrons.
Sounds like pretty simple names. I don't know how you could have fucked those up so much.
Well, when they're spelled phonetically, I don't know. Some of these are spelled, what the fuck we doing here? Chris the blind forklift driver. I don't know how that one was messed up. Thank you very much to Sarah. I feel like I read the name Sarah every fucking month. Like there's a Sarah, but it's just Sarah. There's never a last name.
People don't want their last name associated with this show.
But is it the same? Is it the same girl over and over again?
I'm sure there's more than one Sarah.
But yet they all just do no last name.
Maybe there's a lot of Sarahs that don't want their last names attached to us.
They don't want College Mike showing up at their house, probably.
Maybe so. Maybe we also shouldn't spend this much time on one name or we're going to be here for the next hour and a half. Cheryl Starner, Raul Munoz, The Guam Bomb, Samantha Mason, Sandy Tracy, Pamela Reed, Kristen Powell Andrus, Zoe Von Bergen, Royal Shelton, Laura Riley, Meg Elms, Angie, Aaron Hicks, Goddamn Pally, as Mike would say, Sarah Byrne. There's a Sarah with a last name. Project, Nico Bequez, Johnny, A Morbid Bitch, Michael Gonzalez, Sydney Stahl, Kylie, John, Holden.
Your penis in your hand right now?
No, wait for this one. Watch this one. Holden Two Dicks, Valentina Aguayo, Vaginal Blood Fart.
That might be the worst one
Holy
yet
fuck.
in the history of this show.
McKenna Kusmic, Necronomipod, Renee Lynch, Jensen Grimley, Heather Millward, Liam Brake, Brianna Johnson, Mike's Hard Nipples. That's fine as long as you don't touch them. Stephanie Bottomley, Allie Vetter, Colleen, Molly with an exclamation point, Laura Donnell, Jessica Hudson, Stephen Darren, Lil Baby, Jill 9260 Lemons, Yasmin Isarafanich, Claire Stickney, Catherine Carmichael, Goofy T-Rex, Cucks Across Canada, going global, Carl Hall, Katie Ray Guns, or Katie Ray Guns, Jordan Morgan, Nathan Bost. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate your support. Ian, what do you got?
For iTunes, I have one for Horrorhead333, KMB 1030. Oh, hey, Ian. My name is Stephanie. That's the person that said they wanted me to say their name. So, thank you, Stephanie. Noah Guys and Dylan the Sloth TM. Thank you guys for the awesome reviews.
Dave, what do you got?
By popular request, we have put the 3-pack of stickers back up for sale on the website. So Necronomipod.com. Check it out.
On the actual website. That's not on Amazon.
It's not on Amazon.
We saw some people asking.
No, it's on our website.
Necronomipod.com. Go to merch, 3-pack of stickers.
That's it. What more could you ask for?
They're good ones, too.
Labor Day shopping season's coming up, so get those orders in.
Huge shopping season.
Slap them on your grill while you're cooking those.
Or on your cooler.
Hot dogs.
Put them on your cooler while you're drinking some beers on that 3-day weekend. You know, put them on a koozie. Just stick it on a blank koozie, and then now you have a Necronomipod koozie.
Go to the police station, stick it on their windshield. Put it anywhere. It's suitable for
Maybe
suitable
don't do
to stick anywhere.
But yes, they will stick to a lot of things. We don't recommend you use them as Jimmy hats, right?
Not good Jimmy hats, no.
They are not a good form of birth control. Unless you just want to turn the girl off and she doesn't even sleep with you because she sees that you listen to a fucking Necronomipod. Then it's a great Jimmy hat. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Necronomipod. Patreon.com/Necronomipod. You have to type that in. You can't search for us on Patreon. We will not show up because we are listed as adult content.
Potty mouths.
Yeah, potty mouths. Toilet humor. Jocular talk, if you will.
Jocular. Like,
I'm shitting my pants.
stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Fart noises and whatnot. And I think that was all of it. Patreon. What else? What did I miss? I think that's it. Anyways.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.